I'm here with Jim Dillard from the Pennsylvania State University to talk about his research on interpersonal influence and persuasion. So thank you for being here, Jim.
Thank you, Jen. Pleasure to be here. I'm glad I could join you.
Good, good. Tell us a little bit about how you got into the field of communication and how you got interested in studying persuasion and influence.
Well, I think like most people, I got into the thing I studied because I wasn't very good at it. But one of the experiences I had as a graduate student was one that kind of prompted me and steered me a little bit. I was a master's student at Arizona State, and I was walking across campus when a person came up to me and said, would you commit to taking kids to the zoo for a year? And I said, hey, no, I'm in graduate school. I can't
No
do
time for that.
And then, oh, well, then could you maybe just take them once on Sunday for a couple-hour period? And at the time, I said, no, I'm still too busy. I got to write a paper. But when I went on, I read several pieces of research. One of which was a study of a technique called the door in the face, and I realized that I had been a subject in that experiment on campus. And I hadn't produced the kind of data that they wanted, but it was a remarkable moment for me in that realization, and it steered me on to the idea that a lot of that happens as we go through life. There's a lot of influence techniques that are utilized to change our behavior. They don't often happen with much conscious awareness on our part. And in one sense, it was like seeing the Star Wars movie where Obi-Wan Kenobi says, oh, you'll do this. And the guard walks away. And it was like a little Jedi mind trick. But it alerted me to the fact that an awful lot of our interactions with other people are about interpersonal influence, whether we realize it or not. And it would be important for us to understand how that happens to us, because we should be able to defend against it if we think it's unethical or improper. And we ought not fall into those same patterns ourselves, use those same Jedi mind tricks if they're not ethical for us to be producing those kind of messages. Right. So, like everybody else, I got in because I didn't know what was going on. It was fascinating, and I wanted to learn more about something that I thought was like magic.
So what are some of the key findings from your research or from the field of research on interpersonal influence that have really moved the field forward or been noteworthy?
Well, Jen, I think some of maybe the most important thing is that we now distinguish well between primary and secondary goals. Primary goals are the things that people understand themselves to be doing. It's what the situation is about. And one of the interesting things that we found out, myself and others across the years, is that most of the time people don't conceive of themselves as trying to do influence. They don't think, I'm going to change this person's mind, or I'm going to change their behavior. They cast a lot of interpersonal influence situations in terms of, I'm going to give help to someone else, I'm going to talk about a socio-political issue with someone else. So when you're having that interaction with somebody at the gas station about healthcare policy, people don't conceive of it as trying to get a vote for one side or the other. It's about having an interaction with a neighbor or with a stranger. Sure. And that's a crucial thing because it illustrates, I think, the breadth of, it is about change at some fundamental level. It illustrates the breadth at which people conceive of interpersonal influence. How can I help you do this? How can I convince you that this guy you're dating is not good for you and you need to dump him? Yeah. It's not just about changing you, it's about changing our whole relationship and the situation that you're in. And that yields a lot of important insights because once you understand that people are living their lives and we change each other all the time, you start to see how complex this is. And that it's not just an advertisement out of the blue to boom, change people. It's about managing your relationships throughout your life. So without being too much of a platitude, it's complicated. And I think that's what we want.
And pervasive in lots of different situations.
Oh, it cuts through everything. Sitting in class, asking people, can you have some, borrow their notes, helping people get to the doctor, take their medications, get rid of the wrong relational partner, talking about social issues. It's everywhere. And it's only when we see how pervasive it is that we can really start to be better at it and understand how we can move through life more effectively.
Right. Interesting. So what advice would you have for undergraduate majors in communication to take what they've learned in this course of interpersonal communication, about interpersonal influence perhaps, and apply it to their lives and find careers and use the major as they move forward?
Let me try to answer that at two levels. One is that understanding communication is something that, if you read the surveys from corporate America, that is the #1 or #2 skill that they always rank every year as the most important skill. And it's not true just of corporate America. It's true in every line of work that you might enter. So understanding communication can take you into law, into health, into politics, into any walk of life, really. But I would urge students to think about it in less prosaic terms and to think longer term. The thing that understanding communication is really going to do for you is make you a more effective citizen, a more effective relational partner. When you understand the way that people influence one another and the ways that they are interdependent and they cause one another's behavior, and you cause others' behaviors, you're in a position to make more effective choices, more ethical choices. You're in a position to better understand why you might prefer this political candidate or disprefer that person, because they're using strategies that are not really any different than the people who are selling insecticides to you. I mean, if that's the kind of candidate they're going to be, is that the kind of candidate you want to vote for? There are ways you can see authenticity in human beings when you understand the nuances of their communication that will blow past you if you don't. So I'd say set your goals on being an effective human being, an effective participant in a democratic society, an effective relational partner. And the way you do that is to understand how communication works, what your goals are, the way you affect other people, and everything else that's in this book.
Great advice. If you'd like to learn more about Dr. Dillard's work on interpersonal influence and persuasion strategies, you can read about him in Chapter 12 of your textbook.